Hey everyone, today we are going to learn how to install Docker Toolbox for a Windows computer. And even if you have a Windows 10, there is the ability to get the Docker Community Edition, but I recommend that if you have a Windows computer, you should get the Docker Toolbox application instead. So here's how you can do that. First, let's open up Google Chrome, and let's go to the following GitHub page, github.com/carthenjamin. And you can click on this data recipes repository, which contains the Docker container. But before we can run a Docker container, we need to install Docker. So if you go down to the README, there's a how to install section, and in that section is a Windows section right here. So it says if you're using a Windows machine, you should try to install the Docker Toolbox application. So we're going to click on this link right here, and that's going to start a download. And you can see it's downloading right there. If that link does not work, you can simply just type in Google Docker Toolbox Windows and then click on Install Docker Toolbox on Windows, and this will also download the exact same file that's being downloaded right now. So that's the way to get the executable file. We have about 26 seconds left on the download. I'll let you know right now though that whenever you try to open this file to install Docker Toolbox, you are going to need admin privileges. But luckily, this is the only time you're going to need admin privileges once we have Docker Toolbox installed. So that is almost complete. Alright. And we can go ahead and go into our downloads file. And it's right here at the bottom. So we'll click on that and we'll run it. And so there's asking for admin privileges, so we'll just say yes, and we can now go through it. Alright. And it should be a pretty quick installation, and you'll actually see two new applications pop up right here, the Kitematic Alpha application and the Docker Quick Start Terminal. So you'll see that just about now. And there they are. And yep, we now have these two new files. So this is very important. We now have Docker Toolbox. But before you do anything, you need to click on the Kitematic application and open that. What this is going to do is it's going to see if you can run a Docker container. And it's most likely going to stop and say, we couldn't find a native setup. What you want to do at this point is say, use VirtualBox. You'll see we have this app called VirtualBox. That's also downloaded with the Docker Toolbox. So click on that, and this is actually going to set up a virtual machine on this computer which will allow you to run Docker. So this might take a minute, but once this is done, we will be able to run Docker containers and work within them. Alright, we're just about done. And it's important to tell you that at this stage you're going to need a Docker Hub account. So if you go back to that GitHub page, I've actually linked how to create a Docker Hub account. You just click on this link here, and it's free. And so here I'm going to type in my Docker Hub account information. And so now I'm actually in the Kitematic app, and I'm in my Docker Hub account, and I can actually search for containers. Right, now that you have the Docker Toolbox application successfully downloaded on your Windows machine, let's try to start up the Docker container that contains all of the Jupyter notebooks for earth science data. So first we're going to go to Google Chrome, go to the github.com/carthenjamin webpage. We're going to go into the data recipes repository, and you will see this Windows startup.sh file, so you're going to need that. So we're going to click on it and then click on raw and do save link as Windows startup, and it's going to save as a shell script. I'm just going to save it to the desktop. Alright, and that's successfully downloaded, so we can close out of that. And now what you want to do is open up the Docker Quick Start Terminal, and you'll see a whale icon right here, and it says Docker is configured to use the default virtual machine. We can change directories into the desktop. If I list it, I'll see I have this Windows startup.sh file. So at this point, you first need to change modifications so that it becomes an executable. So just do chmod +x Windows startup.sh. That should do that for you. And now you can actually execute this file. So do /Windows startup.sh. And if this is the first time you're doing it, it might take a while to run this, about 5 to 10 minutes, because it's going to have to download the Docker image, but I already have it on this computer. And you'll notice that it opened up a web server that has all of the Jupyter notebooks for this tutorial, the ACOS data handling, emerge, reading bin, and subset. If we go back to the terminal, we'll now realize that we are in the Docker containers bash right here. So if I do an ls, we can see we have this notebooks directory. So let's go into notebooks. If I do another ls, you can see that this notebooks directory is exactly what this web server is. So now you have the ability to go into, say, the emerge tutorial, open up the IPYNB file, and you now have this tutorial, this Jupyter Notebook tutorial that you can go through. And at any point when you see a terminal command, you can simply copy it. So Control-C, and then usually for a Windows machine, you can go to the Docker terminal and then just right-click. That time it didn't work, but let's try one more time. So we got it there. Right-click, there we go. So CD, there's the same thing. We can hit Enter, and that command should work. So there you have it. You now have the ability to run this Docker container and run through these Jupyter notebooks. Whenever you're done, just type in exit, and you're going to be closing the Jupyter notebooks and closing the Docker container. Alright, well, thank you for watching, and the GitHub repository will be linked in the video description.